Hello, this is SciTech09, and I thought I would give a quick overview on my recent experience in selecting a desktop USB microphone. I'm basically going to give you an overview of the choices that I went through and some of the information that I had to learn in order to make a wise decision. So basically, I started with a few questions that I had to consider before buying a microphone, and the first one was, what am I going to use this microphone for? And so I think for the most part, most of us are people that would be watching this video are probably going to be in one of these categories. For me, it's mainly wanting to do voiceover work for videos, but for most people it's going to be podcasting or making YouTube videos like this one, music recording, and for some people using a microphone with high quality for Skype or voice recognition software. So then the next question that you have to consider is, what's my budget? And for me, I was wanting to work somewhere around $100. I didn't want to go much more than that, and I assume that for most people a budget of $100 or somewhere around there is probably a good one to start with. So I spent a lot of time looking at review sites, going through YouTube videos, and what I came down to were these basic choices, and that is the Audio-Technica AT2020, the Samson models. There's two of them. Most of the information that I found was on the C01U, but the C03U is the newer model. There's not as much available in terms of reviews on this particular model, but I did consider it. And then the Blue microphone, the Snowball from Blue Microphones. So there are a few things that you have to understand before looking at the specs of these microphones, and I'm basically going to give some quick definitions. First of all, these are all condenser microphones. And so what's a condenser microphone? Well, basically it's a microphone that picks up sound using an electrically charged metallized diaphragm that takes the sound and converts the sound into electrical signals that ultimately is carried to the computer for processing. And for these microphones, you have to also understand they have different patterns of picking up sound. It's called the microphone polar patterns, basically representing directionality, and it indicates how sensitive the microphone is to sounds that come in from different directions, whether it be in front or behind or to the side and so on. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a bit. The frequency response is just the range of frequency that the microphone responds to, and the bit depth is the amount of information or bits that's recorded for each sound sample. And the bit depth is important to understand, or at least to a certain degree, because it's directly proportional to the dynamic range and ultimately the sound quality. And for these microphones, basically having a bit depth of 16 produces CD quality sound. And then finally, the sample rate is just the number of sound samples that are recorded per second by the microphone. So let's just take a quick look of the different patterns that are used by these microphones. The most common one is the cardioid pattern, and this is a diagram here showing the pattern. So the circle in the middle basically represents where the microphone would be, and if you look at 0 degrees towards the top, that's where the microphone is facing. So the line diagram that you see there shows the heart-shaped pattern that you get with a cardioid microphone, which is why it's called cardioid. So most of the sound is picked up from the front of the microphone, a little bit from the sides, and very little from the back of the microphone. You may have also heard of the supercardioid pattern, and it's similar to the cardioid except that it has a tighter or more focused area of sensitivity towards the front of the microphone. Then there's the omnidirectional pattern, which is, it's basically a non-directional pattern that picks up a spherical pattern of sound waves around the microphone. and basically it's a pattern that picks up ambient sound. And then finally we have the bidirectional or figure 8 pattern that picks up sound from the front and the back of the microphones equally. So with those definitions, let's go through each one of these models that I considered. First of all, and we're just going to give a real brief overview of the specs. The first one is the Audio-Technica AT2020. As you can see, it's a very nice looking microphone with a black finish. And as with the rest of these microphones, it's a condenser microphone, and it has one polar pattern, and that's the cardioid pattern. And the cardioid pattern is going to be the most common and probably the one you're going to use most commonly, particularly if you're doing voiceovers or if you're recording a podcast and it's a single person using the microphone. You're probably going to be using the cardioid pattern. So the frequency response for this is between 20 Hertz and 16,000 Hertz. And to give you an idea of what that means, on average the human ear can pick up probably somewhere between 20 up to 18 kilohertz. So most of these microphones are picking up a frequency range similar to that of the human ear. The bit depth for this is 16 bits, which is CD quality sound, and the sample rate is 44.1 kilohertz. Next are the two Samson models, the C01U and the C03U. You can see they look pretty similar. The difference, you can see the C03U on the right has some additional settings that you can adjust actually on the microphone. The C01U doesn't, and also the AT2020 has no settings on the microphone itself. So first of all, the C01U is a condenser microphone similar to the AT2020. It has a cardioid pattern of pickup. The range is slightly different, but again, probably not going to be detectable in terms of the average person's ability to hear. Bit depth is 16 bits and the sample rate is 48 kilohertz. The C03U is different from the C01U in that it has several patterns that it picks up, including the supercardioid pattern, an omnidirectional pattern, and that figure 8 or bidirectional pattern. The frequency response is similar to the AT2020, and it has a bit depth of 16 with CD quality sound and a sample rate of 48 kilohertz. Finally, the Blue Snowball. As you can see, it's definitely the most unique looking of these microphones. Also a condenser microphone. It has two patterns, the cardioid pattern and an omnidirectional pattern for picking up ambient sound. A similar frequency response, the same 16-bit depth, and a sample rate of 44.1 kilohertz. So what are the current prices on Amazon as of today, which is January 8, 2010? The AT2020 you can pick up for around $100. The Samson C01U you can get for around $71. The C03U is around $96, and the Blue Snowball you can currently get for $73. But let's take a quick look at the comparisons between the microphones. First of all, as you saw, the lowest price is for the Samson C01U and the Snowball. As far as sound quality is concerned, I recommend that you go through YouTube and listen to some of the sound tests for the various microphones, which is what I did. And this is the conclusion that I came to based on the samples that I heard. I think that the AT2020 has the best sound, and a close second is the Samson. And I only heard sound samples for the C01U, and I would put the Snowball in third. As far as looks are concerned, it's really a matter of personal opinion. I think the Snowball has the most unique look. I like the solid black appearance to the AT2020, and I would put, in my opinion, Samson in third place. So in the end, my choice was the Audio-Technica AT2020, and that's the microphone that I'm using for this video. I think the build quality is very good, the sound quality is excellent, and I would highly recommend it. I would give it 9 out of 10 stars easily. So that's it. This is SciTech09, and I just want to thank you for watching this video.